of the borough of the Bronx, our dear brother, Ruben Diaz.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings from the Boogie Down Bronx, God's country. I just wanted to say feliz cumpleaños to Reverend Sharpton on behalf of the people of my borough, a borough that has for so many years has shared and been there and has benefited from the advocacy of Sharpton and the National Action Network. You know, over 20 years ago is when I really got to know Sharpton. Rev, this is when we really got to know each other over the Amadou Diallo. And it was there that we were all able to march together and seek justice, and we continue to do that. And we want to celebrate you. I don't want to get too much into issues. I want to celebrate, and we should be celebrating Reverend Sharpton during this birthday so that we can give him the roses while he can smell them, right? You know, the fact is that you keep reminding folks that there is still a promissory note that has been defaulted on, and that we need to still keep marching and voicing and making sure that we can give people the opportunities that they so deserve. Reverend Sharpton, your life as a whole, the trials, the tribulations, has served as a lesson and an example to all of us, examples and lessons of resiliency. And I also appreciate and love the fact that you have found this happy space. This space where you have personally have taken care of your health, personally have found tranquility. That's important, because how is it that someone can expect for us to think that they can help heal us if they can't heal themselves? Amen? No? I'm not a preacher, I'm just the son of one. And I also love to see the Rev on television. It's important that we have the Reverend on television. Prime time, making sure that we get the real information out. You know, when this is also a lesson, because there are so many people who profess to speak for us. And they always say that, we highlight that, yeah, the system sometimes is working against us. But we don't always just want to tear down the system. What we're saying is open it up, reform it. In the same way that television was not representative of who we are, instead of just tearing down all of television, let people like Reverend Sharpton speak to us on that too. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say feliz cumpleaños, Rev. May the good Lord continue to bless you with good health, with inner peace, tranquility, love, and many more. God bless you, brother.
All right, we're going to move now to the borough that our president and founder was born in, the borough where the borough president was also one of the founding directors of National Action Network when this organization was founded, and that's the borough president of the great borough of Brooklyn, Eric Adams.
Thank you. You know, every time I have an opportunity to be around my good friend Ruben Diaz, I realize what a great deputy mayor he's going to make for me. I just love him. And so, you know, there's one, Ruben, there's one lie that's told often that over the years I heard, you know, how much Rev has changed. And because he had Obama on speed dial, and because he has crisscrossed the entire globe, because he has sat down with major leaders, people believe that, well, he has changed. And I hear folks who are late to the game try to define, you know, who he is. But those of us who were there from the beginning, it wasn't that Reverend Sharpton has changed, it was that they have changed. Far too long people listened to you with their eyes and not their ears. When they started to hear him, they realized that he was consistent in his message. They changed. That is what really happened. And when I go back and think about sitting down and his vision of starting NAN, and how folks said to me, you know, why would you put your name on that document? Because I saw who he was then and I see who he is now. When we moved throughout Brooklyn and were painting crack houses to stop the overproliferation of drugs in our communities, and he talked about the opioid abuse that we are experiencing in this country, I saw who he was then, and I see who he is now. When we talk about the proliferation of guns, taking the lives of innocent black and brown people in the Harlems, in the Brownsvilles, in the south side of Chicago, all over the globe, when it was just an incident in our community, now it's a crisis when it's in other communities. He was talking that message before that. I saw who he was then, and I see who he is now. I am not a new friend. I am an old friend. I was with him when Yusuf Hawkins died, and the cameras left. But he was still going and speaking to the grandmother and the family members and giving them the funds that they needed. I knew who he was then, and I know who he is now when he's with Eric Gardner's mother as he showed her the nurturing and the care to make sure she gets justice. I know the person. I know them when his life was threatened and I was a cop and he and I sat in his office and the police department came in and talked about they would protect him. And he says, I don't need you to protect me. I got Eric Adams sitting right here. And I knew these two young girls when they were babies, and I saw them grow up and make sure their life was safe because I knew who he was then and I knew who he is now. I didn't just come around and say I know Reverend Al Sharpton. I've been there from the beginning. And when everyone was trying to demonize him, everyone thought that he didn't have a message. Everyone said that who is this rabble-rouser? Who is this person that walked on the tracks and shut the city down, that went to Puerto Rico and fought for those in Puerto Rico, that went to Brooklyn House and spent time in jail, and the members in the correction guardians protected him when he was there. I knew who he was then, and I knew who he is now. So I don't know about these other folks all over this globe talking about how much they love him now. I sit on stages sometimes and I hear people talk about how the great person he is and what he has done. My question is, where were you then? I know where you are now. It's easy to embrace someone when you reach a point of their popularity, but when were you then when he was planting the seeds, when his hands were dirty, when he was on his knees building the fields that many of us benefit from now? I know the person in a real way. I don't have to come here and sing happy birthday because I was there birthday after birthday after birthday, writing those checks, putting them in NAN to make sure that the money was there to keep the lights on, showing his brother that I was with him and committed with him. That's why I don't worry about what people say. What is your relationship with Al Sharpton? I know my relationship because I was there then, and I'm here now. I'm going nowhere. This is my guy. I'm clear on his message. And let me tell you, there are going to be folks that's going to say he has evolved and he has changed. This man hasn't changed. It's the same person. Remember riding in the back of the cars and hearing him on the phone talking to people, his dedication and commitment. There are moments that this family, his daughters and his wife, there are moments when they didn't even know when that knife plunged in his chest. He didn't turn around. He kept moving forward. When people tried to tie him to things that were wrong, I was with him when he ran for state senate. We were sleeping in NYCHA development. I was with him when he walked through to Albany to fight up in Albany, walking from here all the way to Albany. Listen, I know the history. I'm not a new Negro. I know this brother. And most importantly, this brother knows me.
She is one of the grand ladies of Harlem. Her roots run deep in this community, and her service has been everlasting. And she's our Assemblywoman sister, Inez Dickens.
Good morning, Harlem. Good morning, family. No justice? No justice? No justice. You know, we're here this morning to celebrate the birthday of Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. But in celebrating, that's all right, give him a clap, that's all right, go ahead, it's his birthday. But as we celebrate his birthday, we've got to remember the wars that he has fought. And Mr. Brooklyn Borough President, mentally, this is the same man, but physically, this is a good-looking half of what he was. But oh my God, don't he look good in his... So I'm sorry, I had to add that, you know. But in all seriousness, Reverend Johnny Green, as I look out and see you, and Rosa, as I see you, and of course we've got the one black man here who has the only manufacturer of boilers that's black owned, and that's Stand Up. Would you please, Leon? All right, they'll help you out. All right, this man, give it up because he's held on to his business for years. But today, you know, and I went to the party, by the way, on Thursday, and did we party, and did I dance? And Dominique said, well, where were you? I didn't see you. I said, I was on the dance floor, baby. I was on the dance floor. But you know what? We've got to celebrate and remember our history. We've got to celebrate this birthday and remember the fights that he's had. We've got to celebrate his birthday and not do it just as a good time, but to recognize and remember the history, actually, that he has brought to this nation, this state, this city, the world. He has taken on the unpopular fights. See, it's easy to take on the popular fights. That's easy. But he stood up when he was standing alone, and we were not with him. We didn't stand with him. We were afraid. We thought he would get shot. We thought he would get stabbed. We thought he would just be picked on, and we didn't want to be a part of that until he won the battle. And then we all ran around and grabbed him and shook his hand. Well, Reverend Sharpton, I want you to know that today, this room recognizes you and your accomplishments. This room is here to celebrate you and recognize and to teach our history, because from whence we come is where we go. And by the way, I brought my birthday gift 4 times his year. So now, bring in the birthday gifts that keeps NAN alive. Bring in the birthday gifts and let him know that you stand with him always. No justice, no justice, no justice. God bless you and God bless Harlem.
All right, I want to bring up the leader of our New York City and state region, Derek Perkinson.
Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning. On this joyous day for our leader and founder, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. I have 2 proclamations for our leader. One is from the Assembly Speaker, Carl Hastie. Give it up for Carl Hastie. It's a proclamation. Reverend Sharpton. The second proclamation is from our good brother in D.C., out of Brooklyn, Hakeem Jeffries. Happy birthday, Rev. I now bring up New York City Chapter President Bill Griffin.
Good morning, good morning. I just want to say that to Reverend Sharpton, that everybody has already taken all the words out of my mind here. But I just want to say that I've been with Reverend Sharpton since 1996, I think. So I'm not going anywhere. I love where I'm going. I'm going to follow my leader. I'm here to do whatever I need to do to meet the goals and objectives that he sets for us. But, and well, for the New York City chapter, I have a present to give Reverend Sharpton, and we love him, and we will follow him forever. Thank you very much, Reverend Sharpton.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Reverend Sharpton. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
We are back, brothers and sisters. You are listening to the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally. We're live in the House of Justice. We're celebrating the birthday of the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, and I'd like you to get on your feet right now at home. Put your hands together for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it? Hug the person next to you. Tell them you love them.
Never give up and never give in. The change will come. Keep faith down within. Troubles and triumphs will last always. With God on our side, let them not cry.
Hold on, be strong.
A better day is coming.
Yeah, change will come. Change will come. Change will come. Your change will come. Your change will come. Your change will come. Your change will come. Never give up
And never give in. The change will come. Keep faith down within. Troubles and triumphs will last always. With God on our side, let them not cry.
hold on, be strong.
Better day is coming.
Yeah, change will come. Change will come. Change will come. Oh, your change will come. Your change
Your change is gonna come.
I know it will. Your change will come. Your change. Oh, your change will come. Oh, your change. Oh, change will come. Change will come. Change will come. Your change will come. Your change will come. National Action Network Change Choir. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly, we're happy to be here another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally, and for you that are here in the House of Justice, 106 145th Street in the village of Harlem, and for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and for you that are watching live stream around the country. We're happy to be here another Saturday where the action is. And certainly we are happy for you that have come as we honor my birthday this week, but honor those that have helped us along the way. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy, and our musical director, Tyrone Richardson. And certainly, as we've heard from the inspirational message from Reverend Dr. Tommy Miles, give him a hand. Pastors Campus of Macedonia Neptune came up to be with us. We've heard several tributes and statements already here on the broadcast, and I appreciate them. I must say I've been out here, as somebody said, I started when I was 12, so I've been involved as an activist since I was 12. Jesse Jackson and Bill Jones made me youth director of Breadbasket when I was 13. So I've been in an official position for 52 years. But in all those years, I've never had somebody really make it where you're going to endorse me or you the most ungrateful Negro in town than Eric Adams did this morning. I just want him to know I got that. You know, you can do what you want, but I was there in the maternity ward when the doctor spanked you. You can go somewhere else, but I was there when you was hungry and naked and I put underwear on you. I said, good God Almighty. We got to get through the presidential election before we get to the mayor's election. But Eric said, just in case, let me cock this gun now. I don't know, Scott, what you gonna say, but Eric done beat me half to death up here on my birthday. But I'm grateful to all of those that have spoken, certainly. And let me say this, and I'm gonna bring on 2 or 3 more and then get into my message. Let me first say, before even continuing this, we dedicate the rally and broadcast today to the memory and legacy of Diane Carroll. Diane Carroll came from New York, went to school here, comes from Harlem, and she was the first black woman on television that was not on as a servant. When I was growing up, I was born in '54, Emerald, and the only black woman on TV at that time was Ethel Waters playing Beulah. That's when it was black and white TV. And then in '68, Julia came on, who was a professional woman. And that's when TV went from black and white to we put the cellophane paper and act like we had color. And put the hanger as the antenna. I was sitting up in Brownsville with the antenna and the wrapping paper. You couldn't tell me I wasn't middle class watching Julia. But we celebrate her life and her legacy. Also, I want to say that on tomorrow, will be the birthday of Reverend Joseph Lowry, one of my mentors. He'll be 98 years old. In Atlanta, Georgia, Reverend Joseph Lowry, and I'm going to dedicate my TV show this evening to him. And on Tuesday, my other mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson, will be 78 years old. So all of us are are all in the same week, and I love to remind them how much older they are than me. I went to see Reverend Jackson was in town last week. I went to spend time with him. He said, Al, you always come spend time with me. I said, because you about the only one I can come see, and I'm still the youngest one in the room. I meet with my staff now. I'm the oldest one in the room. But I'm grateful to them and their sacrifice. I also want to announce, talking about mentors, Reverend Bishop Herbert Daughtry on next Saturday will be passing the presiding bishop of the House of the Lord Church and elevating the new bishop who will be anointed and ordained as the new presiding bishop, prelate of House of the Lord Church next Saturday at 12 noon. We're going to leave here and go out. And that's his daughter, Reverend, who will be next week, Bishop Leah Daughtry. At the House of the Lord Church, 415 Atlantic Avenue in the borough of Brooklyn. And she is certainly a great preacher and organizer in her own right, organized both Democratic convent twice. And now she's going to pick up the mantle of the House of the Lord Church. And I think that is a beautiful thing, and we are going to be part of it. All of us. I met Eric when he was in Black United Front, and then he went and formed the 100 Blacks in Law, and they did protect me and stood with me in and out of jail. You know, when the part he didn't tell is when he said the police came to protect me, I was under some threat. They had picked up on a wire in Bensonhurst that if Sharpton come out here this week, we're going to kill him. And the police came to told me that they wanted to put me under protection because they had picked this up on the undercover wire. And I said, well, who going to protect me from y'all? And it was 100 Blacks that stayed with us all the way through that campaign. And ultimately, I did get stabbed. And they were there in the hospital. It was funny, I had one of these real revolutionary brothers, didn't take no mess. Rachel, you know, was ready to kill a rock. And we was in the schoolyard coming out, getting ready to line up to march. Police had set up the corridors, and we were walking out the schoolyard, and this guy ran through the police guard, had on the same colors of the day, because you had certain colors for undercover cops, and stuck a knife in my chest. And I went down, and when I grabbed the knife out reflectively, didn't know that would what it was. I just out of reflex. In the air hit, I went down. Same militant brother jumped up. I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm gonna get some. I'm not trying. I said, Negro, get an ambulance. So if y'all don't understand why I'm through with these after the fact revolutionaries. He's standing up there gonna protect me. The guy that already stabbed me. And he's gonna have an after stabbing fit. One of the reasons why a lot of people were upset when this young man forgave the girl, the lady that killed his brother in Dallas this week. And I think people grieve their way. I don't understand the judge hugging her and giving the Bible. I'll get into that. And I don't understand the correction officer playing a hair, because they ain't lost nothing. And they supposed to enforce the law. But that young man forgiving her, I understood, because I went to court and forgave the guy that stabbed me and have visited him in jail. It's a funny thing, Manhattan Borough President Brewer, they never talk about how I was stabbed and forgave the guy that stabbed me, who's white. Visited him in jail, did 9 years in jail. He did as much time for stabbing me as she gonna do for killing that guy in Dallas. But they don't talk about that. Just like they like to talk about Tawana Brawley, but they don't talk about the same year I stood up for the Central Park 5. Same year. Corey Weiss is here now. Stand up, Corey Weiss. But that's why you just keep going. And you appreciate the other night, Spike Lee and Samuel Jackson and others threw a birthday for me down at the public library, and Senator Schumer and a lot of people. President Obama did a videotape, sent Valerie Jarrett, Robert De Niro, and all came. And I was telling De Niro, the one thing that I've learned is that you don't get overjoyed about good days, and you don't get depressed about bad days. That at the end of the day, the Bible is right, the race isn't given to the swift, nor the strong, but to those that can endure to the end. So don't get too happy and don't get too sad. Just keep going. I got up next morning and was headed to the gym. I get up about 4 and I'm in the gym 5 every morning. And when I got back upstairs, started calling people, waking them up. People talk about, man, I'm still asleep. It was 6:30. They said, recover from your birthday. I said, I done already worked out. And you recovering from my birthday, the reason I had a 65th year is because I get up and keep working. Talking about working, you that are watching us in the Washington, D.C. area, I'll be preaching at 11 in the morning at Howard University, at Rankin Chapel. Tonight, of course, this evening, 5 o'clock, I'm live at Politics Nation with Al Sharpton on MSNBC tonight and tomorrow night on MSNBC. Make sure you watch our show. I have a lot to say about y'all's president and impeachment. I understand in his speech yesterday he attacked me again, but he's just mad because President Obama sent a tape to my party and I didn't invite him to the party. And so he gets upset because we didn't invite him, and he's mad because Obama was saluted there and all that. But don't worry, Mr. President, I don't hold grudges. I will attend your impeachment. Let us hear, I'm going to bring a couple of speakers on and get into my message. Let us hear from the controller of the city of New York, Scott Stringer.
Well, good morning, Nan. And happy birthday, Reverend Sharpton. Let's say it loud again. Give him a round of applause. I have to say, as somebody who has spent some time at NAN over the years, and brought my 2 little babies through NAN, not just on Thanksgiving, but during Saturday mornings. It is great to see the next generation baby here today, and I just want you to know, Rev, that is something that's very powerful. Let's give the family a big round of applause. So many people this morning have talked about the legacy and the record of Al Sharpton, and who wouldn't want to be associated with that legacy for a long time. And I'm so proud today to announce that I am the adoptive brother of Reverend Sharpton. And that wasn't the joke part, no. But one of the things I just want to say, in the years that I've served as controller, you know, it is a job that's about dollars and cents. And it's about keeping the money in the bank, and it's a lot of that. But there's another side to it through the lens of Reverend Sharpton. It's about wealth creation, not just on Wall Street, but throughout our city. It really is. It's about making sure that women and minority-owned businesses don't get played by the system, but becomes full partner in the economic life of our city. That's through the lens of Reverend Sharpton. He has challenged financial institutions and elected officials to break the glass ceiling once and for all, and double down and make sure that all people get to be investors and create wealth, and that the city is no longer defined economically by zip code, but in fact, everybody has an opportunity. That's the legacy of Reverend Sharpton. And that legacy continues today. It is a fact that in this city of great diversity, 4.9% of women and minority-owned businesses get contracts with the city. He's challenged that. It's a fact that
young men and women of color go into a financial institution with big, important degrees. They go up the corporate ladder to get to the C-suite and the corporate board, and they get stuck in the middle on the elevator. There's no wealth creation in the middle of the building. It's all in the C-suite and the corporate board. Reverend Sharpton challenged us over the last years to shake that up. And I'm proud to tell you today, he was right then, he's right today. The next battle is going to be about money and resources and equity and fairness. And as long as you have Reverend Sharpton fighting for the next generation, your children, my children, the children we're never going to know and meet, many of them in homeless shelters, many of them with no opportunity, as long as he breathes here every Saturday, then we know we have a fighting chance. And that is why today is so important, because this legacy is only half written. The best, I believe, is going to come from the Reverend, from all of us. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Scott Stringer, give him a hand.
Thanks, brother. Okay, Rev, I know you're going to get a lot of proclamations from governors and mayors and presidents in the borough, but this, sir, is your greatest proclamation. This is, and I know what you're thinking, he's not even going to hang the controller proclamation, but it's how you say it. So, Reverend Sharpton, on your 65th birthday, representing 8.6 million New Yorkers, I now present to you the money proclamation, the controller's proclamation. There it is.
Well, y'all are looking at the mayor's race 2021. I got a reminder of who was in the maternity ward when I was born. And I done picked up an adopted brother and a money proclamation. Ain't no telling, I'm gonna have all kind of relatives before we get to 21. Reuben is the son of a preacher man, telling me I can't go against a preacher man's son. Let me say also that I want to thank all of the ministers. We had about 30 that was with us. You know, the reason the library salute was important to me, not only because of the celebrities and Obama and all, but I remember when I was a kid and my parents broke up, I used to spend a lot of time just going to the library because I was a boy preaching and didn't really hang out in the streets. I'd go read a lot. And our dream was to go to Manhattan to the big historic library. And when I walked and got out the car the other night and saw the whole front of that library lit up for my birthday and thought about how I used to ride the number 2 train and just marvel at that library. It shows you a distance. People don't understand the distance that you travel is the value that you are. And I want to bring a woman on. She's worked and fought many battles with us, and she's a congresswoman from New York. But a few weeks ago, there had been some hate-filled anti-Semitic graffiti put on the East Side, and all of the rabbis and Jewish leaders gathered with her to speak, and she invited me. And one or two of the far-right people said, "Well, Sharpton there," and heckling. She stood and said, "No, he's my friend. He is not a hater and an anti-Semite. It's friends that stand with you when you've unfairly questioned." And I want her to know that because of that, this past Monday, the East Side Synagogue had me as one of the Rosh Hashanah speakers. If we all stand up for each other when we right, I don't want nobody to make excuse when we wrong, but when we right, then we all strengthen each other. So we're honored to have with us this morning our Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney.
Thank you so much, Reverend. It's a great honor for me to be here in the House of Justice to celebrate Reverend Sharpton's 65th birthday. And he's been called many things, but my favorite description is one in Vanity Fair where they call him the most influential civil rights leader in our country. Thank you so much, Reverend Sharpton. And I do have a birthday present, but we have to wait for it because we got to stand in line. And that is flying the flag over the Capitol of the United States, celebrating the life and contributions and NAN of Reverend Al Sharpton. Now, he's got a lot of accomplishments. It's amazing that one person could pack so much into 65 years. He preached his first sermon at 4 years old. Can you imagine? And served not only the great Brown, but also Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jesse Jackson, founded his own youth program, founded NAM. He's made a difference. He's important. That's all you got to know. Happy birthday, Reverend Al. And I want to say that when I see a social justice wrong, I always call Reverend Sharpton. And I'm grateful that he takes my phone calls. A lot of people don't. They're always too busy. There was a time I wasn't a congressperson or a city council member, but he was always there. Whatever was happening, he would show up, speak out, and bring people together. He has the wonderful gift of whatever is happening and it seems to flow out, he catches it and makes it better. We need to come together as a city and a nation and work against all discrimination, against minorities, women, Jews, you name it, and no one is a better spokesperson at bringing people together to work together than Reverend Al Sharpton. So I want to thank him for that. And I want to give one example of where he made a huge difference, where probably no one even knows about it, but he does it all the time. Earlier this year, and it sounds boring, but it's important, it's representation, and it's power, and it's money. In the census, they added the word citizenship against all the professionals said, don't add citizenship, people won't sign up, because people supporting immigrants will be afraid they won't sign up. And so everybody, we fought this like Democrats, because if you're not counted, you're not represented, and we distribute 700 billion, as in bill, bien, a B, in a year based on these census numbers. So if you get a big undercount, like a 700,000 people, you lose a congressional seat. So I called him up, and I said, we have this problem, we got to raise it. We got to get everybody going on it. So he held a forum here, and it was even more packed than today, put out tables, computers for everyone to sign up to work for the Census Bureau to make sure people are counted, has spoken out repeatedly on his radio show, television show, about how unjust the citizenship question is. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and many people thought we would lose, but a guy's letters were found, and he was a gerrymandering expert for the Republicans, and it said in his letters, we're going to add this citizenship question. It will lead to an undercount of minorities, so more Republican members of Congress will be elected. So what he did to stop that is important. We got it off. And his message today, together we're stronger. Now I have my own resolution. It's not the money resolution, but when he gets down, we always have the up days and the down days. When he gets depressed, I want him to read this resolution because it talks about what a great human being he is, what a great leader he is, and what a great impact he's had in this country for social justice. So thank you, Reverend Sharpton, and happy birthday. You read this when you get depressed. It talks about how great you are and how appreciative
Thank
you
you.
are.
Give her a big hand. Last but not least, and I'm going to my message after this. Last week, as I went to Cleveland to speak at the Olivet Institutional Church. I do not get to watch a lot of television. When I do, it's mostly news, keeping up so I can do my radio and television show. And I clearly get a little time for entertaining, so I'd have them usually download stuff so I can watch it so I know what everybody else is watching, so I'm at least up to speed. And I heard all these advertisements, Reverend Johnny Green, about Epics wanting to, or showing this series, The Godfather of Harlem. So they downloaded it, and I watched a couple of segments. And Forrest Whitaker did a terrific job acting. He's a great actor. But the depiction of Adam Clayton Powell and Malcolm bothered me because they depicted them as they were somehow just cynical, maneuvering and conspiring with Bumpy Johnson and all kind of stuff. And Harlem was not godfathered by drug dealers and thugs and gangsters. There was some mobsters that ran drugs in Harlem, but they did not run Harlem. Adam Clayton Powell was not put on the ballot by the mob. He was put on the ballot because he had a people's movement. First of all, way before I was born, he had a newspaper called The People's Voice and was the first city councilman black in the history of the city. Went on from there to Congress, and it was those years of service was why the people in Harlem stood with him. And when Tammany Hall went against him, Carmine DeSapio, Adam Clayton Powell with her father, Lloyd Dickens, and then beat DeSapio. That's Godfather Harlem stories. Y'all run around talking about who hooked who on drugs. The reality is that when blacks could not get a job as a bus driver in New York, I ain't talking about Mississippi, Adam Clayton Powell had a Harlem bus boycott 15 years before the Montgomery boycott. Martin Luther King said that when they started the Montgomery boycott in '55, he studied a book called Marching Blacks by Adam Clayton Powell that was published in '44. And that book talked about the Harlem bus boycott, which put the first black drivers. That's why I want to build this Civil Rights Museum here, because all the museums. I was meeting last night with former Congressman Kendrick Meeks, who's here today. Where's Kendrick? Stand up. Give him a hand. We're going to build that Civil Rights Museum, and the story of Marcus Garvey and Adam Clayton Powell and Jesse Gray and the Rent Strike. Civil rights didn't only happen down south. There was a lot done in the North that even the South learned from. But the reason we don't hear about it, Johnny Green, is that the folk that we had to fight in the North are the ones that write the stories and do the movies and the documentaries. So they want to act like it was Uncle Bubba down south, rather than them also up north. They had on pinstripes. They didn't have on overalls, but they were just as biased and racist. In fact, that's why one of them is sitting in the White House right now, the up north bigots. And that story needs to be told. And we didn't get out of that selling heroin. And our godfathers was people like Percy Sutton and Adam Clayton Powell and David Dinkins and Basil Patterson and Charlie Rangel. They're the ones that went up against the powers that be and stood up and broke down the biggest and most powerful city in this country. Our children need to know that story. Because our kids be watching that and thinking that's how we got. Oh, that's how we did it. We controlled the corner to sell dope. No, that is not how we did it. I remember when Percy's son and Charlie Rangel took the Apollo from drug dealers. Hello. And they tried to scandalize them. They never scandalized the drug dealers now. He ain't said that. I am. You're going to go after the folk that took it from those that got it with suspicious money. That's the battles we had to fight. But fight we did. And that's why we've grown there. I will never forget. They were getting ready to have a big fight at Madison Square Garden. And there was a pre-fight dinner. Don King used to have the pre-fight dinner. And then you go down and watch the fight. And I was at the pre-fight dinner. And we were starting then the movement around Amadou Diallo had been killed. Reuben talked about it. And we had started going to jail every day. Michael Hardy was a lawyer. We built up, started Reverend Daughtry and Assemblyman Barron and said, let's do it every day like South Africa. I said, well, let's do it at one police plaza. And I think we were doing 9, 10 a day. And we'd got to about the third day before this fight, and I was at the dinner. And Congressman Rangel, who was then the chair of Ways and Means, one of the most powerful positions in the country, black or white. And he walked over to me, he said, Reverend, I saw you on TV going to jail. He says, y'all doing that every day? I said, yes, sir. He said, I'd like to help you out. What time you going in the morning? Because I got to go back to Washington Tuesday. I said, we go 10 o'clock every morning. He said, I'll meet you in the morning. I said, you going to meet us to go to jail? He said, yeah. I said, you going to be there? He said, yeah. So I said, all right. And I called, I think I called Rachel and said that, hold it, Congressman Rangel's talking about going to jail, but don't put it out yet. He may change his mind. Don't put it to the press. So I waited, and I hung up the cell phone. I went in the bathroom, and Mayor Dinkins come in the bathroom. And what people didn't know is that the Gang of Four, as they call them, they all were like brothers, but they would all check what each other was doing. So Mayor Dinkins looked at me, he said, we're in the men's room now. He said, Charlie's going to jail with you tomorrow? And I looked at him, I didn't know how he knew that. I said, that's what he said. He says, you sure? I said, that's what he said. He said, well, can't let him beat me. I'll be there in the morning. I said, what? So I really didn't believe he was going to show up. So about 8:30 that night, I slip over to Congressman Rangel at the fight. I said, now, you sure you coming in the morning? He says, 10 o'clock, I'll be there. I said, all right. And he said, when you were painting crack houses to expose the crack dealers, and they could have shot us, did I come out and paint crack houses with you? I said, yeah. He said, well, I can go to jail with you. And the next morning at 9:45, Charlie Rangel and David Dinkins got out the car in front of one police plaza. And 25 years before Colin Kaepernick took a knee, they took a knee in front of one police plaza. I bring you the Lion of Harlem, Congressman Charlie B. Rangel.
God is good. Happy birthday. Wow. I had someone staring at me a couple of weeks ago. He came from behind the counter. He was a butcher. He was wiping his hands. And he looked and he stared at me and looked me right in the eye. He said, excuse me, mister, but didn't you one time used to be somebody important? I came here today not really to praise Al Sharpton, but I praised him. I came here to thank Al Sharpton. I, quite frankly, was born and raised in Harlem, and I didn't know too much about Brooklyn, and I went to school in the Bronx at DeWitt Clinton, but I learned to learn fast, you know. But before the Reverend introduced me, I felt
like most politicians, when they hear a good speech, kind of lets you know that if I put my mind to it, I could, you know, compete even against the borough president of Brooklyn. And sometimes I'd be in some other place. I just do it for practice, you know, just to be good. So before Reverend Sharpton introduced me, I said, Rev, what year were you born? He said, 1954. And I started developing my way of thinking. I was going to say that in 1954, I'd come back from the hells of Korea, being shot down by the communists. And I asked the Lord in Latin and English and tongues to spare my life. And I kind of felt then that the Lord told me that a star will be coming from Brooklyn. At the time he's being born. But then the Reverend introduced me, and I ain't running for nothing. I'm going to save that story. But I do want to say in this short time a sincere thank you. Because in this country that I love, because the way they made it, I don't know any other country. I don't know nothing about anything except the United States of America. And I know they say that all men are being created equal and all this was written up because God dictated that they do. But over the years, I noticed that the heads of the revolution didn't look like me. I don't know where they got the fancy clothes. I don't know how much money they had. I don't know how many slaves they owned. But I knew one thing. Those people who created this country weren't thinking too much about people and God's will. I know that we had a whole lot of brown people in this area, and somehow through genocide and killing and murders, they became the victors, and then they had to go to Africa to get human beings that look like God too. So the stigma that they created in this country means that when a drunk white woman goes into someone's apartment and sees someone black, what has happened in this great country is that if it's black, it's fearful and the gun comes out. So I don't believe she should be hugged. I really believe that more Americans have to see who we are, what we can do, and when they look at us, it's not going to be in handcuffs and orange outfits with our heads down with a white lawyer. Now, this is a young country. We got a long way to go. But if you get grabbed and you're helpless, and after you finish calling on the Lord and the cop ain't responding, there's one insurance policy that Al Sharpton has given to us. And I come here to say thank you because when you feel that you haven't got a friend in the world, and the cop got that bully and his hand is up, it may not always work, but you will know in your heart, you can mumble to him, you know I know Al Sharpton. And it ain't Al Sharpton that's on television waxing about international leaders and talking about how blessed us for having Trump. Because one of the best things we ever did as a people is to have Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump has represented the worst that America has ever had. Obama ran them under the rocks. But you and I know they were always there. Not with sheets, sometimes with suits, but we knew what they thought about us. And they'd rather shoot than ask, why the hell am I in your apartment? The truth is that seeing Al Sharpton on television, hearing him on radio, hearing him debate with the leaders, and knowing one thing, that when he speaks, there's people like you and me all over the country, and indeed the world, that are prepared to come out, not for him and not always for the victim, but for themselves, to let this country know that we got a long, 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 long way to go. And so, Reverend, let me sincerely thank you for all of the people that cannot thank you personally. Let me thank you for the hopeless that don't even know what God's about, what politics is about, what power's about. Some of them swear and cuss and do wrong things, but that doesn't make the police and those people who are silent about brutality respect us as a people. Now, because of Al Sharpton, we all stand a little taller. Not just here in the House of Justice, but all over the country. Nobody knows where the National Action Network may be. And so, you have given us more than we could possibly give back you. Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I don't know how that works. Going to Sylvia, not having ribs and fried chicken, I don't know how that works. Staying sharp when you wake up, you sharp, I don't know how that works. I don't know how you can squeeze so much time in one day all over the country. But sincerely for those people, we thank you, Al Sharpton. We thank you for people knowing that they may not be thought that there's somebody, but they know darn well that maybe they may know Al Sharpton and get a break. Thank you. God bless you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Charlie Rangel, Lion of Harlem, Lion of Lenox Avenue. He talks about the speech he was going to make about 1954. Give a hand, Brother Gardner, President of 100 Black Men in New York. Come on up. Congressman Rangel talks about the speech he was going to make, and as I had to confess, I was on the Washington LaGuardia shuttle one day, a few years back, and lady looked very well-to-do, middle-aged white lady stopped me getting off the plane, and she said people were speaking to me, so she was trying to figure out why people were speaking to me, saying hello. She says, "Oh, you're Congressman Rangel?" I said, no. She says, well, oh, you sure? I said, well, why you ask that? She said, no, because I like him and I was going to make a contribution to his cause. I said, oh, lady, just make the check right out. So he has helped me along the way. One of the things, though, that I'm most proud of, and some of you that have seen it and you'll see it when we're going to do a gospel show, the video is our, not only the next generation of leaders that we featured on New York One last week of William Allen and Derek Perkinson and others, and our staff. I see Kyra here from our Washington, D.C. office. But then behind them is the huddle that Ashley and Dominique and Dominique movements go from generation to generation. And the reason why we are determined to build that is I come from that. I started young and started at the foot of Bill Jones and Jesse, and later James Brown, and later on and on and on. And it's because of the continuity. If you find somebody that is not connected to something ahead of it, That's why I like Ava. Give her a hand from New York Urban League. Connected. They have tricked us into being disconnected. Everybody want to start their own thing. It is the disconnect conspiracy that has stifled a lot of our ongoing movement. You can go down right now to the Apple store and get the new phone. But if you can't get a connection, you can't call nobody. I got the new, with the i5, i6, whatever the new one is. They're up to 11 now. I went to get the i8 fixed and they made me get the i10. But you get in a bad area, I don't care what number phone you got, if you can't connect, you got no juice. And the problem that we got today is too many activists with no juice because they're not connected. They got a nice looking phone, but they can't get a call through. I'd rather have an old rotary phone that can connect me to my roots than to have a smartphone and be a dumb Negro. So at 65, all I want to do is run my lap. The race didn't start with me, and it won't end with me. But if I can make my lap run to bring it closer to the finish line, so that when I get off the field, I can say I did the best and I kept the road going. And I know, as somebody said, they're going to talk about us, they're going to scandalize us. The president spoke against me yesterday, but I read somewhere, blessed are they when men talk against you and persecute you. They did it connected to the prophets before you. If you ever gonna be connected, you're gonna be criticized. You're gonna be scandalized. But great is your reward in heaven. I got a grandson 9 months old now. I don't know I'll be here when he gets old enough to hear it, but he should always remember. I used to love that song, When You Walk Through a Storm. A lot of y'all run from storms, but you'll never be great till you learn how to walk through storms. You try to get up under the bed and act like it's not lightning and thundering, but when you walk through a storm, don't duck, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, you got to get to the end. Your challenges of greatness is the greater storms you face. Nobody talk about the folks that were coward. They talk about the people that faced great storms and kept going anyhow. And that is what makes greatness. We come from a great people. 400 years ago, they brought us here, robbed us of our name, robbed us of our history, robbed us of our families, but we are still here. Look at where we are now. Look at where we were 400 years ago. We got to run this lap. There is a God that promised if we stand up, he'll hold us up. There is a God that sits above Donald Trump, and if we're right, he'll fight our battle. We got to win. We gonna win. No turning back, no cowering down, no bowing, scraping. Stand up and be who God made us be. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody's singing. Everybody now. Everybody's singing. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. Hey, I'm moving quickly. I want to open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today that never joined National Action Network, one of our active committees, one of our ways of working. If you're here, just come down to me and let us sign you up right now to the National Action Network and become a registered member of the organization. Come on, everybody singing. Everybody sing. Come on, everybody singing. Hey, sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody singing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Thank you. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. All right, we're going to raise our offering. I'm moving quickly. I've got A.M. Joyce doing a tribute.